envisage that farming will have to change in Ireland?
Yes. Farming always keeps changing. I mean, it changes with the weather in terms of, how you manage, but it does have to change. I mean, we do have, we've seen a loss of nature in the last 50 years that has to be reversed. That has to change. We've gone from having 500 pristine water systems down to 20. That has to change. It's not just farming. We have to change in how we do forestry. We have to change even how we manage the rivers. We have to change how we manage our sewage systems, wastewater systems. So it's not just farming, but yeah, it needs to change there. But also I would argue it needs to change because we need a new young generation of people to go into farming, and that's not happening in the numbers that we want at the moment. And the average age of Irish farmers is up to 57. And yes, for certain sectors, it's very much a viable, commercial, well-paid enterprise. But for the vast majority, it isn't. And I think for that reason, it needs to change too.
Are farmers the enemy when it comes to the environment?
No, I don't think the environment, the restoration of nature is going to require first and foremost the farmers to do a lot of the work and heavy lifting. And they have a love of their natural environment and their own fields and farm and community and parish and county, like everyone else. So I don't think it'll work. If we put the blame on people or shame on people, that's not going to change anything. It's not true. And no, this is a shared opportunity for us all to rise to the occasion, particularly people in rural Ireland, particularly people in farming, because they know best how we can do this. They know their own land, and it's that skill and expertise that we need to call on now and need to pay them for. So farmers, far from being the culprits here, are going to be the heroes in the solution.
Your cabinet colleague, the Minister for Agriculture, Charlie McConalogue, has said that he will seek an extension to the nitrates derogation. Do you support that?
Well, I think the Commission are coming to us, whatever we seek, I think the Commission are going to decide. And I think we're one of the few countries now with the derogation. Is the Danes as well? But pretty much we're going to be on our own. And my own sense in Brussels is for us to bet on that not changing, for us to be able to the last holdout would be a very risky bet. I think we need to reduce the pollution we have in our own waterway systems. And I know that's difficult, and I think the farming community in some ways hasn't been served by kind of a narrative, oh, well, listen, we can ignore that, or that's something that's not going to happen, and then we don't have a problem. And then what you find is like what happened last week, farmers actually waking up and realizing, actually, we do have to switch towards a less intensive, away from such an intense system. It's not serving farmers by giving false promises. I'm not saying Charlie's doing this now at all, but I think some of the elements by kind of fighting every single environmental reality, by saying that what the EPA is doing is what was the words used last week? False information. That's not serving Irish farming. Like not telling the truth, and the reality of what's coming at us is not good for Irish farmers. I think we need to realise there are environmental constraints. We will address them. We can do so in a way that gives us a good future in Irish farming. Burying our hand in the sand and pretending there isn't a problem is not serving Irish agriculture.
And what is your vision for the future of farming in Ireland?
I think it's part of a very much a vibrant rural Ireland. It's not just farming communities, but obviously farming is a key bedrock of rural Ireland. I think it varies depending on area. There is a real difference between the north and west of the country and the south and east. Part of that will be also changing natural systems. Like even if we do everything we need to do in climate, we're going to see changes coming. We're going to see heavier rainfall, particularly in the north and west. And at the same time, we're going to see more drought. We're going to see that summer of 2018 happening on a more frequent basis, particularly in the south and east. In my mind, it's obviously still centrally based around food production. But I think farming will have a far stronger role in forestry as well, in agroforestry, in 1 hectare strips of forest within a farm, so that people still keep farming, but they're kind of foresters too. Can I say the other thing, though, like it's happening. Like there's the numbers of people applying for the organic schemes are going through, like shooting up. Was it 46,000 farmers applied for the acre scheme? So it's Like the Irish farming community is very interested in this change and see it as their own. And I think, so it doesn't need too much of, I mean, yes, you need kind of clear rules and financing mechanisms and so on, but it's not as if the farming communities themselves don't realise there needs to be change. They're voting with their feet. They're going into the sort of new schemes that are being created to restore the environment. So they see this, I think, already as part of the future.
Where would you like to see the central focus on farming in the future? Do you believe there has to be a reduction in the national herd numbers?
I mean, there's been an obsession about this, kind of solving this issue by numbers, in terms of as if there's a magic number, or as if that is, because I think people have been framed in a way that it's all about a cull. And I don't think that is where we're coming at on this. There will be a reduction in numbers, like it's as sure as night follows day, because, well, firstly, the income from the existing model, particularly in beef, suckler, sheep and others, isn't there. And therefore there's likely to be a natural reduction as farmers, we don't see people replacing the farmers who are there at the moment. So, and there will also in the dairy sector be a need to reassess the numbers, because what the EPA says is correct. Our rivers, particularly in the south and east, are saturated in nitrogen and phosphorus, and we have to restore those waters. If we don't, agriculture is the most at risk community, because we're trading on an origin green brand. And if the biggest risk is that if you go out saying, oh, we're all green and this product is green, and if someone comes back and says, well, actually, you're not, because your waters are polluted, well, then the premium we get for our produce, which we do get, would disappear overnight.
Would you like to see further funding in the next budget, ring-fenced, in order to support farmers and biodiversity?
Yeah. Well, I can't do the negotiations here. And this government's working well. Like, it's tough and there's all sorts of mistakes we make, you know, like anyone else. But there's reasonable level of trust between the three parties and the three leaders, and between the likes of Pascal, Michael McGrath, myself, Charlie McConalogue. We're kind of Pippa, Malcolm Noonan. We all have a voice in that debate. To answer your question, yes, I think we need to. Okay, we have the cap. We will have new revenues coming in on the energy side. That's for certain and for real. And we do need to look at more new innovative schemes, I think, particularly on the restoration side, and start thinking about pilot schemes there where we test and then deploy more widely.
You talk about bringing more younger people into farming. How do you intend to do that?
I think you have to pay people. I think you have to have a sense. And it's not like everyone's going to be, you know, on farm 100%. Like, farming has evolved in a way where a lot of people have off farm incomes, often two, and that's great in terms of, you know, it doesn't have to be, like, we're not going to go back to 1930s, you know, but you do need some clarity around how we get, if we're going to go towards this new system, which is more respectful, restoring nature and so on, well, then you do have to make sure that there's an income attached to it.